Hey guys, so by like almost 100% of you guys that have responded to my 2014 anime video, if you haven't seen that, go ahead and check it out, link is in the description. 100% of you guys that, like, almost, like, all of the people that commented on the video said that they would like to see me do monthly videos about what anime and manga I've been reading and watching respectively, and so that's what this video is about. This is going to be the first one, and I'm going to do a combination video of January and February. So let's go ahead and get this thing started. So January, I didn't get to read a lot of manga or watch a lot of anime because it was a time of me preparing for Katsukan, and so I didn't do too much. Plus all of these series are actually really long. All the manga series are really long, and so it took the pretty much the entire month for me to get through most of it. One of the series in the manga is actually still going on, but I read the majority of it then, so I kind of counted it as what I've, not necessarily as what I finished, but everything else is, I have already finished this. So let's go ahead. So for January, the manga that I read was, one of the first manga that I read was a manga called Wild Ones, and this was recommended by Sachi, who in her own manga anime video, she had mentioned Wild Ones, and she had said that this one was like pretty much one of her favorites because the main character's name is Sachi, and just because she really liked it, and I thought I would go ahead and give it a try, and I actually really enjoyed it. It's this manga about a girl who goes into her family, like she's from a Yakuza family, and just it's this romantic comedy. It's just really cute, and I'm not gonna give a whole detailed thing because I am trying to get 2 months into one video, so yeah. Wild Ones was really good. I'm gonna rate all these things on a scale from 1 to 10. So I'd go ahead and give Wild Ones probably like a 9.5 out of 10. Just because maybe the manga style was a little bit older for me. I did really like the manga style though, and I just think that I don't really have any complaints about it. I really like the series overall. Next manga that I read was Kuroko no Basket, or The Basketball Which Kuroko Plays, blah blah blah. It's a really popular anime and manga, and the manga series actually just finished a while ago, but it recently finished, and so I decided I would go ahead and get that manga series out of the way, and so I did, and it was really good. The progression of events are pretty much exactly like how the anime has portrayed it, and the art style really developed over the time frame that it was going through, and the characters had really good development, and Kuroko no Basket was just a really good manga to read and sit through, so I'm gonna give it a 9.5 out of 10 again, just because like nothing's perfect. The next manga that I read that I mentioned earlier about it still going on, that's Haikyuu, and I did get through it. It's a volleyball anime. It's a volleyball manga that turned into an anime, and the anime was kind of what got me into reading the manga, because the manga goes past where the anime has gone so far, and there is going to be a second season of Haikyuu, but the art style was really kind of bad at first, and then it just ended up getting really good, and the storyline has progressed so much, and the characters are all people that I'm just in love with, and they're all great, and like, I just really like this series. Sports anime has gotten to me, guys. And the manga was just really good, and I'm actually gonna give it like a 10 out of 10 because I really liked all the characters and they're all just really great, and I like how the storyline has progressed, and volleyball. So moving on to the anime of January, I ended up watching, the first one that I watched was Pandora Hearts, and I've actually been trying to kick this out for a while, and I've been trying to watch it for a very long time, like probably since about senior year of high school, and so probably for about a year I've been trying to watch this, and for a year I had been trying to watch this, and I ended up finally watching it and getting through the entire thing, and it was a really good series, and overall I think the art style was just older because it is an older series. The characters were pretty good, and some situations were pretty relatable in some ways. And you would have to know the anime to know what I'm talking about, but I think it was pretty good overall. It wasn't like one of my all-time favorites, but I like the twist on Alice in Wonderland kind of idea that they messed with. It was really interesting, but I do think there were some flaws with it, so I'd probably give it about an 8 out of 10. Moving on, the next anime I watched was Carnival, and that had overall a really good art style and some really good characters. I think it cut short though. I think in the anime at least they could have gone a lot farther, and I'm pretty sure the manga is still going on, but I haven't read it yet because it's a longer series, and I think they could have pulled out a lot more, and I ended up watching the dub, and I thought it was pretty good. I'd probably give it about a 7 out of 10. It was pretty good, but there were still some things with it that I was just like, meh, meh. The last anime in January that I watched was Angel Beats, an anime I have also been trying to get at for quite a bit of time ever since Shrella had recommended it to me, and I just ended up watching it and really loving it. People had said I was gonna cry during it, and yeah, I did, but like not as much as I thought I was going to, because everyone was like, oh, you're gonna be crying so hard, but I didn't. I don't know why. I just wasn't that emotionally involved in it, I guess. I mean, it was really intense, and I enjoyed it a lot, but I don't think I was just as involved with it as I could have been. Maybe not as involved I was in shows like Love Live or Sailor Moon or things like that. Yeah, but Angel Beats was really good. I really liked the story, and the characters were all so diverse, and their personalities were great, and just the way the story progressed was pretty cool, so I'd probably give it about a 9 out of 10 because I really enjoyed it. Moving on to February. February was pretty much lots of manga. Lots and lots of manga. Granted, some of these bits of manga are shorter than others, but I'm gonna go ahead and blast through. So I ended up, for manga, I ended up marathoning through Fruits Basket. I had finally gone through it, and it's so good. It was so good. I really enjoyed Fruits Basket. The story was really good, and a really good concept for manga. Just really interesting. And the characters were really cool. There was a good age range, I think, in the manga. It's just a really cool manga, and I totally recommend it for any of you guys who haven't read it. It was an older manga, but I think the art style was good enough for me to keep interested, and I think the art style definitely progressed over the time that it was being written, and I just really enjoyed it. It was really good. I'd probably give it a 10 out of 10. It was really good. Next, I'm gonna have to read this off my thing, but the next one I read was called Harashite Barao Fume. I think that's what it's called. I don't even remember, but I'm gonna have to look this up. Harashi de Bara wo Fume. That was it. It was just kind of about this girl who's really poor and she has siblings, but because she's so poor, she doesn't get to take good care of her siblings. And long story short, she ends up marrying a rich guy just so that she can take care of her siblings. And it's like a love story, but kind of set in an older time, like a different time period. And it was really interesting, I think. Maybe as far as some of the scenes, I was kind of emotionally involved in it because there are some scenes that kind of are just weird. Like, there's this one guy that she ends up falling in love with. Turns out he's, at the very beginning she falls in love with him, but turns out he's really, really creepy. So, yeah, I don't like him. I didn't like him at all while I was reading this, so I kind of got some of the situations too are kind of relatable in ways, and it was just really emotional, I think, and I just liked it, and it was good. So, let's see, maybe a 9.5 out of 10, just the 0.5 for the art style, because it wasn't my favorite art style. Next, I read Inukami, which is also an anime, but I watched that a long time ago. Inukami's about this guy who has to make a deal with a wolf girl. God, kinda, yeah. Really interesting concept. I just think like all kinds of different manga have interesting concepts. Inukami was really interesting. I think the story was going in a different place than it was in the anime, but I still liked it, still really enjoyed it. Not one of my favorites overall though, because just some things kind of bothered me here and there. Yeah, probably like a 7 out of 10. Next, I ended up reading Clannad. For those of you who know, I've already watched Clannad and Clannad After Story, and both are really emotional, and Clannad was good as a manga. I think there were some things in there that weren't in the anime necessarily, but I still really liked it, and I think the manga actually ended. No, I think it's still going. Yeah, it's still going, I think. Or at least that's what it says in my manga app, but I really enjoyed Clannad, and Clannad's always just a really good story to watch and read and go over again and again and again. It's just something that gets me really emotionally in pieces, and so many things that I can relate to. Like, I really relate to the main character, the main girl in the story, Nagisa, and because she's really shy and I'm shy, and I relate to all the shy people, and it's just a really good story. And so but the art style I think was a little different. Of course, the animation studio and what the mangaka does are going to be completely different, but for the most part they're going to be somewhat different. So, but I think I just like the art style of the anime more, and kind of lean towards that and had a bias towards that, so reading it was a bit different. I'd give it a 10 out of 10 just because I'm so involved with Clannad. I'm so attached to Clannad. I have a bias towards it. Next, I read an anime called Switch Girl, which was recommended to me by Sachi, and it was a really, really interesting manga. It's about this girl who has one personality where she's super popular, and when she gets into her off mode, which not really many people know about except her family and her best friend, when she gets in her off mode, she's super gross and just really funny, and not at all the way she is when she's on her on mode, because when she's on her on mode, she's super girly and popular and just the typical popular girl that you would think of, and then her off mode is so something like a fangirl, but not something. She's basically like a lazy bum, and I can relate to that in so many ways. And it is like a romance story, so, and there are a lot of people with their on and off modes, and I think that's just something that really applies to the real world, to where people have the way that they express themselves to other people, and then when they get back at home, they're completely different. So they have their on mode and their off mode, and I think it just really applies, like, just because that applies so much to the real world and real people, and me personally, and a lot of people I know are like this in their own ways, so I just really related to it. So I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10 just because it was so good. What else? I read the manga for Kill la Kill, and though it hasn't progressed much as far as the anime did, I think it went just... I'm pretty sure that as soon as Kill la Kill was out, in like the first chapter, they were like, oh yes, this is a cool idea for a story, let's make it into an anime. And they did. And the manga is completely different. So, as like someone who watched the anime before I read the manga, I just prefer the anime over the manga. I don't know, I'd probably give it like an 8 out of 10, just because it was so-so. But I still enjoyed it. Next, I read Junjo Romantica, which is a yaoi, and I had been starting it off, stopped, read other things, and then went back to this for a while before I actually completely finished it in February and just got through it. And I think besides the fact that it is a yaoi, there are some really good concepts for the story, and I'm not going to go into detail. I'd probably give it a 8.5 out of 10. It was good. The next manga that I read was a manga called Boyfriend, and it was about this girl who moves in to a new neighborhood and loves her, and she falls in love with this guy, but the real reason she had moved was completely different than the one she had said, and it just ended up being really interesting because she ended up moving because she was bullied, and I'm pretty sure she had some anxiety issues and she had to take medication for it, so I think that was just really relatable, and I just liked it. It was good. I read these things because I like them. I'm pretty sure there wasn't anything that I read that I like hated, so and I'd probably give it like a 7 out of 10. I mean, it was good and the art style was okay, but it wasn't like, wow, this is so amazing, oh my god, you know, just one of those things. Next, I actually read the manga for Baka and Test, and I'm pretty sure the manga and the anime are mostly different in where they went. So, and the art style in the manga was different than the one in the anime, and again, because I watched it before I read it, it was kind of, I preferred the anime over the manga, but I still think that Baka and Test is a really good story, and I enjoyed it, so I'd probably give it like an 8.5 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10. Next, I read the manga for D and Angel. Again, older, watched it before I read it. Really good story, good concept. It went different places, and I kinda liked... I had totally forgotten about D and Angel, like as an anime, about where it had gone, so I ended up rewatching it, and kind of noticing differences here and there, and I don't know, I think there are a lot of different adventures that they kind of went into in the manga that I enjoyed. Again, it's like the same things that I've been saying about other things, so 9 out of 10 for D and Angel. The next manga that I read was Lemon Planet, and it was a shorter kind of manga, and this was one that kind of only had 3 chapters, and I don't know if it's still officially going on because it only has the 3 chapters in the app, and I haven't read anything else beyond it because nothing else but it's just the story about this girl who's in love with her childhood friend and ends up getting rejected, and it's a really kind of stereotypical story within most anime and manga, and that kind of deal, but I thought it was pretty good, like decent, like the art style was a little different. I don't know, I think it was just because it was one of those things that you see in a lot of other anime and manga that I was just kind of indifferent towards it. They didn't really take it anywhere that I could enjoy it more with, so I'm actually gonna give it, this is probably gonna be the one that has like the lowest rating. I'm probably gonna give it like a 6 out of 10. Just because it was so stereotypical and the art style was maybe a little different. Last manga for February 2015 was a manga called Hibichocho, and this one was a really good manga that I read that I especially kind of liked. This manga is about a girl who is she's really quiet, but she's only quiet because she is super gorgeous and all these boys are after her and all the girls want to be her, and because she's so super cute that like if she says something then people freak out, if she makes an expression then people freak out, so she doesn't really say or do too much because she doesn't want to cause trouble, and she ends up getting scared by people who have these super reaction towards her, these super crazy reactions towards her, and so I think it was really good. I liked her character a lot especially, and it is a romantic manga, and the love interest is a guy who's kind of quiet too, and he doesn't really have a lot of good experiences with girls, but he does karate, and of course they end up together and they're just super cute, and pretty sure I shipped it from the very beginning, and I just thought it was really good. I like the art style for it. I especially like one of the characters in the manga just because she has completely different eyes than everybody else, like where everybody has these super detailed quiet anime eyes. There's this one girl, Aya I think her name is, and she just has these like ovals with like squirrels in them, and she's just like, and it's just great. She as a character is really great, kind of aloof and doesn't really care too much one way or the other, but she's super protective towards her friends. I really liked her as a character. I think there are some really good different kind of characters in the story, and I just really enjoyed it. Hibichocho I'd probably give 9.5 out of 10. That was really good. Alright, on to anime for February of 2015, and this is where it kind of winds down. I didn't really watch a lot of anime in February, this past month, because it is now March. I didn't really watch a lot because I was so busy going through all these different manga, just because I had more time to read than I did to watch. Because February was crazy, what with Katsucon and my virus with my computer. That kind of happened towards the end of the month, so like, yeah, it still hasn't been resolved as of this time that I'm filming, but I'm pretty sure everything will be fine soon because I've sent it off to get fixed, and it should be fixed really, really soon, and I'll be able to start putting vlogs up again because I'm on my unwanted hiatus. So as I was saying, the first anime I'm gonna talk about is Kokoro Connect, and this anime had 2 seasons, and I actually read the manga before I watched it, and the manga's a lot shorter and does not cover pretty much any, like, it covers some of what it does in the anime, but the anime went further, and I really like the art style of the anime. But as for a storyline, it's different, but it's kind of rough in some situations that it gets into, and gets kind of dangerous in some situations. And so my cousin recommended this to me, and I watched it, and really liked it. There were some aspects that I didn't like of it, though, to where some things were just completely unnecessary to get into talking to, and how hardcore some things got into with this. But the story basically is about, I want to say, 5 people. These 5 teenagers that are just in this club that are outside of all the other clubs at their school, because at their school they're basically required to be in a club. And so they're this separate club that is just and for various different reasons of the very different people, they ended up together in this one club. And I just think story is basically just that one day they end up, because of this person, thing, alien, whatever, heart seed, they end up switching bodies, so their soul switch into somebody else's body at just random times. And it was really interesting with where they went in some aspects, and how they kind of progressed to the next season was different, and what they did was all different. I think overall it was just I kind of had a weird relationship with Kokoro Connect. I'd probably give it an 8 out of, no, 7.5 out of 10. Just because it was so back and forth between liking it and going, why am I even watching this? Next anime that I ended up watching was Ruby, and I marathoned Ruby because after the death of Mani Oum, I had wanted to start watching Ruby, but never had a chance, and I'm really upset that I didn't get a chance to watch it sooner, because it was so good. And I really liked the animation and the style and the storyline and the characters, and so much of Ruby was just amazing, and I'm so upset that I didn't get to watch it sooner. So I'd totally recommend watching Ruby, the 2 seasons, and I think they're coming out with a 3rd season, which I'm really glad for, because that way they're still honoring Monty with that. And I just really, really liked it, and liked what they did with it, how creative it was of a concept for a story, and I just thought it was really interesting. The characters are all so cool, and I love that show. That was great. So Ruby, I'm gonna give a 10 out of 10, because that was just amazing. Amazing that somebody could create something like that is so great, and kind of really inspired me to continue to make content. So before I get all emotional and start talking about that kind of thing, I'm gonna stop rambling and go into my next thing. Now, this isn't really an anime, but I ended up watching the drama for Switch Girl, which was one of the manga that I just mentioned for February. And I ended up watching the drama because a friend mentioned to me that I watched the drama because my friend, who watches a lot of Japanese and Korean dramas, had mentioned Switch Girl, and I was like, is that based off the manga? And she was like, I don't really know, I think so. And it was, and I really enjoyed the drama. The actors were really interesting, were really good, and the way they did things. And there were 2 seasons, each 8 episodes, but the 2nd season was, for the most part, as a whole, it wasn't on the storylines of the manga. And the manga, I guess, hadn't progressed as much as it did, and so they had to kind of fill it up with other things, and they started playing around with some of the concepts that were going on. But the manga where I'm at in Switch Girl is different than what they did with it in the drama. but I did enjoy the drama, and it isn't an anime, but I felt like I should talk about it because it was really good. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10, just because, no, 9.5 out of 10, because it was really good, and I just liked what they did with it. But yeah, that covers everything. So that was the manga that I have read in January and February, and the anime that I watched in January and February of 2015. Now, the next time I do this for this month, March, won't obviously be as long as this, but yeah, I hope you guys continue to watch these videos, and if you did like this, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you have any recommendations for any manga or anime, go ahead and leave those in the comments, and I will probably take a look at them because I'm always looking for stuff, because granted, I have read a lot of manga, so chances are I have most likely read it. And I have watched a lot of anime, so again, most likely watched it. If it's older, if it's newer, maybe not. But go ahead and leave those in the comments. I don't really have anything else to say, so I'm just gonna go ahead and go. Yeah. Thank you guys again for watching, and if you haven't already and you want to, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I'm pretty sure it's not even on the screen, but probably under my name, but I don't know where that is on the screen. I'm so great at doing things. I'm such a wonderful YouTuber. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. Talk to you guys in my next video. Bye! Wait. Really? Okay, you ate like a few hours ago. Chill.